Hey guys.
Hey, Jess.
All set for this, Kate?
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. Good, good, good.
Yeah. I
Let's
can tell
see.
you've done some unpacking. Got some
A
fun
little
little
bit.
stuff in the back. Ooh.
Yep. Some shelves. It's
Very
not
nice.
completely done, so by next week it should be good.
Awesome. Good for
We
you
put a
guys.
couple we put a couple other things up, but there's still like a few things that have to.
Yeah. And you're all done painting now?
Yes, I think so. Actually, I take that back. So there is a little bit we have to do, just a little more trim work
Yeah.
and the one door, but I got to get more white paint for that. So
Nice. I like the color of the one wall. Is it kind of like a greenie? Like
it's not, it looks more green, just noticing in the picture, it looks more like moss green, whereas it's technically kind of a turquoise.
Oh, I love that color.
I
That's
don't know.
nice.
It's kind of hard. Thank you. It's cool. Like this makes it look more dull, but it definitely is, it's a brighter kind of turquoise.
Yeah. Very nice.
So yeah, it should be good. I'm trying to think if there's something else that shows it. Not really, but so it'll be good. You had a good day, did you?
It was a busy day, yeah. We took our kids to Dance Fest at the board office, and they got to do that, which was a lot of fun. We've been practicing for a couple of weeks now, so they're pretty excited about that. And
Oh,
we started track and field today, but I'm like, it's snowing outside. Like to even get out and practice, it was not happening. So we just went in the gym today.
oh, okay, that's good then.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy? Like it was
I know.
crap today.
Yeah, it was. I could not believe the amount of snow we got. It was nuts.
No, like insane. What are we? The 17th, like April 17th. That's insane.
Yeah, more like January '96.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's never ending.
It's too funny. Too funny. Alrighty, who we got? Let's see. We're a minute down. We'll wait a minute and then
Sounds
we'll get started. Hey, Christine. Hey, Kelly.
good.
Who do we miss? Aaron. Hey, Aaron. To get my annoying squeaky voice out.
Cute.
Oh, too funny, guys. All righty. So let's see. So, Kristen, you're good? You didn't get sick? No? Good. When we did
Nothing.
girls' night, there was Kristen, myself, and Megan on Friday, and Megan was puking afterwards a ton. So, luckily, Kristen and I were A-okay. Missed that one.
Like
One for oils.
That's, yeah, exactly. Oh, are you muted there, Kate? Or are you good?
can you hear me?
Oh, yep.
Okay. I was just playing around with my volume, making sure it was up. So maybe.
Okay, yep. All good. And remember how last night when we did our quick call, I had like that issue with the volume?
Yeah.
So it was really dumb. I know the cat stepped on my computer and she must have messed up something. So we're like Googling when like this thing comes up and that, and literally I just like shut it off, restarted it, and put it back on. It's fine. Yay, Birdie.
Something simple like that, right? At least you got it figured out.
Well, I was like all stressed thinking it was going to be something. And I was like, I said to him, I'm like, let's just shut it off. Let's just shut it off and we'll try it. And then it worked.
That's always
When
like
in
my
doubt.
go-to. I'm like, turn it off, turn it back on. Like you,
Yeah,
that solves it like 95% of the time.
totally. If not, then deal with it and freak out.
How's Bernie dealing with the new house babe?
She loves it. She loves it.
Good.
Yeah, we had electricians in today, so she was again kind of out of sorts and whatnot, and she just hid. But honestly, she's loving it. There's quite a good ledge in the front of the house on that front window. Remember, yeah. So she, yeah, loves it. Just sits in there and has her little spots, and she's right back to being a big sucky. So it's all good. Promised her we weren't moving her again for like ever.
Yeah. It's hard on them too, right?
No, and it's like babies because they don't understand and you can't talk to them to try to like explain it.
Mhm.
So she's just a spin case.
That's cute.
Alrighty, guys, 7:02. So how about we get started because there is Megan's call with the bigger team afterwards. So if anybody's hopping on that one, we'll just make sure to kind of get through. Quick, very easy to do the draw for last time. So yay, Deb. One for the homework. She was the only one who did it, so it was kind of easy to pick. But so we got a bottle of peppermint for you here, Deb. So we'll get it as soon as possible. Congrats! Woo! So guys, let's get going with some of that homework. It's not too difficult or anything. But truly, like, it's all stuff we do in this. So, you know, it'll get to be kind of second nature. And just if you've done the stuff, just make sure you post that you've done it, so then we can kind of put you in. So just want to kind of recap a little bit with Kaylee last week. Awesome presentation and slideshow there, girl. Just want to kind of go over a couple little things just to reiterate. Again, biggest thing you can do is not invite. There's no right way technically, no wrong way technically. Just invite and you'll hit everybody that you possibly can. Just gonna mute. There we go. That might be better. Okay. So next thing, awesome with that memory jogger with the Franks. Love that idea. There's a couple other ones online in that too, but that is such an awesome one to just keep in mind and keep jotting down with that list of 100 too. Biggest thing, stay away from that hunter mentality. And basically focus on getting to know the person. Get to know them as a person first, and then you can start kind of introducing with the oils. When they get to know you too, that'll just kind of come out naturally as well. But it will seem a little less salesy by doing that. So really just work on the relationships with people. And always have your samples, which is such a bonus. Again, high impact sampling oils is great. Having, you know, clary sage with you might not always be the easiest that somebody might need, but our peppermint, our digest scent, wild orange, all those ones are super good to have with you. Oh yeah, and with that, don't forget, try as much as possible to get everybody's contact too, just so you don't get at home and kick yourself that you don't have them. But yeah, so awesome. Now, for this week, we are having Kate talk about presenting, which obviously is the major, it's kind of the meat of our, what we need to do. We can invite and we can follow up, but we need to have that kind of that ability to present, to get as much information as we can, respecting their time and keeping it as compact and not overwhelming. And Kate is awesome with this. I had the pleasure of teaching with her during Diamond Club. And she is a teacher by day as well. And I think it's just naturally, she likes, you know, helping people and being there for people, great with answering questions and guidance. And so I thought she would be perfect with presenting and to give you guys some good tips in that. So I will turn it on over to Kate. And yeah, it's all yours there, girl.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a great day. I know it was kind of snowy out there today. I've got my nice diffuser with some spring oils going anyways. And as I was telling Jess at the beginning of the call, we had our kids, I am a teacher, we had our kids at Dance Fest today. So there's a lot of dancing and singing and cheering. My voice is almost gone. And then I had to coach track and field on top of it. So I do apologize. I have my water, so bear with me. We will get through it. And I'm going to be respectful of your guys' time as well. So thanks for the intro, Jess. I am a teacher here in London, Ontario. I teach kindergarten. And I am very passionate about the oils. I've been using them for about 2 years now. I got started with the oils through my gym. I wanted a kit that Ange Peters had graciously donated for our weightlifting competition. I got them home. I had no idea what they were. I had just heard a bit about them. And as I got to dig a little deeper and do some research and find out more about them, I came to fall in love, and I started using them in our own home and with my friends and my family, and it kind of took off from there. As Jess mentioned, I love to teach, and it just kind of came naturally for me. So I do like the topic of presenting. I hope I can give you guys some great tips today. I'm just going to go through my slide. I do tend to talk fast, so I'll try and go through it bit by bit. And if you do have questions, I will stop at the end. So don't hesitate. If there's anything else, you let me know. And so yeah, we'll get right to it. Jess showed me how to screen share. So I should have it all set up. Let me get this slide going here. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Awesome. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm seeing heads nodding. That's good. So yeah,
kind of ironic, I'm going to do a presentation on how to present a class and kind of how to prepare and teach a class, which can be a lot of fun. It's not as nerve-wracking as you're probably thinking it is. Maybe you've taught your first class already. Maybe you haven't yet, right? We've all started there at some point. We all had to start from the beginning. So let's get started. As Jess was saying, classes are super important. It is kind of the meat of your business. And I put on this slide, it's kind of the lifeline. The more classes you host and the more people you're able to educate and get out to classes, you're gonna start seeing those enrollments go up and you're gonna get more people knowing about the oils. And I put 2 images on here because you know, when I first started, I kept thinking I had to have, you know, like 10 to 12 people at a class, and I had to have these huge, large classes to get a whole bunch of people out. And in reality, that wasn't always the case. You know, you maybe start with some smaller classes, or even maybe just one-on-ones. I did a lot of coffee dates when I was first starting, especially when I was getting what I wanted to say more like up to speed, and I kind of knew how to answer questions. I did a lot of one-on-ones, and it really got me my confidence level up. And now I'll do bigger classes. And I've also realized too that you might also have some cancellations, right? You're gonna invite as many people as you can, as Kristen mentioned in last week. But you know what? I've had people like 15 minutes before class I'm about to present, and I get a text saying, sorry, Kate, like we can't make it, or, you know, this came up, and that's okay too. You're not gonna hold it against them. Just let them know when your next class is. And you know what, better yet, then that's when you just say, hey, you know what, it's unfortunate you weren't able to make this class. You know, why don't you get a group of your girlfriends together and I'll come to you and I can teach a class. And there you go. Then you've already kind of got your next class set up as well. So yes, super important to kind of take on to what Kristen was saying about inviting. Now you're finally getting them to a class, whether we're going to talk about a bit of both, whether you're hosting those classes for someone else at their home or you're inviting people into your own home. So basically, one-on-one. You're ready to jumpstart your business by educating others and teaching your first couple of classes, but maybe aren't sure where to begin. There are lots of people out there who are going to help you with that today. I mean, I'm not necessarily an expert by any means, and I learned a lot from the people in this community group as well. Ange, Peters, Megan, Jess, you know, we're all here to kind of help each other out. So yeah, these are just a few things that we're going to touch on, like being authentic, keeping it simple, what to have with you, kind of like a class checklist. I'm going to talk about the class in the box. Maybe you've ordered one already. We're going to go over that a little bit, what it entails. Talking about class flow, any kind of handouts, resources, tear pads, any of those things that you guys have found helpful, some of the ones that I like to have on hand with me. And then finally, a wrap up. I find sometimes closing a class can be a stressful one for people, especially when it comes time to talking about how to maybe purchase the oil. So we're going to go over all of those things in this little presentation here. So the first one is, being authentic. So I really like this quote here. Your picture, your faces are covering my quote. But you guys can read that for yourself there. And it's just talking about being authentic. So people want to get to know you and they want to connect with you as much as they want to connect with the oils, right? They're obviously willing to come to class because maybe they're drawn for you. Maybe they can relate because you're also a mom. Maybe you're also a teacher. Maybe you're also a nurse. Maybe, you know, there's some reason that they've connected with you. Maybe you've had a similar concern that they have and you've kind of voiced that to them, and they can resonates with them and they can relate, so they're going to come out. So I always make sure I introduce myself and kind of talk briefly about my why and connecting with those people at a class. That's a really big one. Providing personal examples of how the oils have helped you and your family. So I always make sure I let people know I am using the oils, how I'm using the oils, and how they've greatly benefited both myself and my family. I make sure to ask the people attending what their personal goals for learning about the oils are. So, you know, before people are coming to a class, I might ask, you know, well, what are some of the things that you're really wanting to get out about learning about the oils, some of their priorities, and sometimes I'll jot those down so I can kind of touch on that, or maybe have some stuff pre-prepared for those people, and kind of direct my class around that. And of course, speak from the heart, and your passion will drive you. I always have people come up to me at the end of the class and they're always like, you're so enthusiastic, like, you know, you're so passionate, how long have you been doing this for? And, you know, I'm like, oh, it's my third class. Like, you know, if the more that you are comfortable presenting in front of people, it just comes naturally when you've been using your oils, and you just, you know, when you love them and you just speak from your heart, people really pick up on that. So that's being authentic. Keeping it simple. So I want to see if I can move you guys over. Maybe I can go like this. Yay! Okay, it worked.
Did it work? I was going to say there might.
All the faces, and it was just cutting out the word slightly. So there, it works. Not that I don't want to see your beautiful faces. So yeah, the next one is keeping it simple. I cannot stress this one enough. So I will tell you, before I was having my first class ever, Ange Peters is one of my upline, and she had offered to come teach my launch class, which is super exciting, but also terrifying, because I remember being like, oh my goodness, I am going to be presenting in front of Ange Peters. Like, I was like a nervous wreck. Like, I was ready like a month in advance for this class. Like, I went out, I bought, you know, snacks and food, I bought chairs, I bought, you know, all these little things that I thought I needed because I wanted this huge wow presentation, right? It was my first kind of class. I had a lot of people coming, and I just wanted it to be perfect. And I remember it was like 10 o'clock at night, and my boyfriend John was like, like, I was still cleaning up. He's like, is this what your classes are going to be like every time? And I'm like, I don't know if I can keep it up if that's the case, right? So remembering to keep it super simple. You do not need a fancy PowerPoint or TV setup. You don't need every oil or doTERRA product on display. You know, keeping it simple. Something is just, we'll go over a list of some of the things we like to have, but definitely not everything. You do not need a ton of food or snacks put out for everyone. And a hot tip I will give you guys, and I remember hearing this from Megan Terzis as well, is you want to make it duplicatable. You might have people coming to a class that may be super interested in the business and maybe even wanting to build. And if they're seeing you up there presenting in this huge wow setup, they might think, oh, that's too hard. Like, I don't know if I could do that myself. And, you know, that took a lot of time, and I'm not so sure I'd be very good at that, right? So if you can keep it simple and, you know, it's going to reflect on, you know, maybe you have that future builder in the audience that is thinking, hey, yeah, I could definitely see myself doing this. So yeah, keeping it simple. All right. Oh, change slide. There we go. So the next thing I always like to have is just a little checklist. I do actually have this kind of written down, and I do often host it in my own house, but if I am going to someone else's place to present, I kind of have a little check, make sure I have everything. There's nothing worse than going to present and being like, oh, and with your fractionated coconut oil, and not having something to share with you, or kind of frantically looking around. So with my checklist, obviously a big one, no-brainer, is kind of the top 10 oils. You definitely want to have those with you. Fractionated coconut oil or a carrier oil, just because as we're talking a lot about dilution and ratios and skin sensitivity, I always like to have an example with me. You know, I always just keep one of the little ones I ordered off doTERRA. I always have roller bottles or spray bottles handy so I can show people nice and easily, you know, this is how you might apply them. This is how you can dilute them. It's easy to kind of take with you, and giving some examples of how we use those. And doTERRA does have the touch oil, so you can show them what those would look like as well. I always have a deep blue rub. Going to the gym often and playing a lot of sports, I have a lot of athletes and people who have a lot of sore muscles and aches and pains that come to my classes, so that's a huge one. I give out a lot of samples of that stuff, and it's a nice one that people can pass around at a class and try too. I take the supplements with me to show some people. I do often get quite a few questions about those. Having the little bottle of veggie caps are great because you could talk about internal use and how you could make maybe like a little flu bomb. It's a nice little way to show them. I have my diffuser going. I usually have that going as soon as I get to the person's house, like 20 minutes or so, diffusing, so that by the time people come, it's already kind of set a nice little aromatic atmosphere when people come in the door. I usually do something simple like peppermint and wild orange, usually because peppermint you get in the kit, and wild orange is just a lovely combination, and it's often one that I give away at a class, so it's kind of nice for them to experience it. I'm sure many of you have a copy or will be ordering one soon of the Essential Life book. It is an absolute must. It's like my oil Bible. I resort to that thing, reference it constantly. It's just a really nice thing to have out if people want to look up a specific oil, or you want to direct, maybe they have a quick question or they want to look something up. It's kind of nice to have on hand. I love the On Guard line, and I don't have, every single piece of it out, but I might have something like the toothpaste or the cleaner concentrate that I might reference as I'm talking about that specific oil. I always do a draw at the end. So Jess actually showed me, I think it was Share Oils, did we order them through? That you can, was it? To get the little draws, the tear slips?
Yep, and actually there's other ones too. If you guys just want to order from Canada, Aroma Tools has like a US and a Canadian site, and the Canadian one I looked and they actually have, it's a little bit different. I believe that one's a little different, but still covers the same questions. So it's a good one and probably a little bit easier for shipping in that from Canada.
Yeah, I love those. They just look nice and look professional, and I can just tear one off and add it to their little handouts. So I always do a draw prize. I find people love free stuff. I love free stuff. It's always nice at the end of a class to kind of have something that they can take away. And depending on the size of the class, I'll even do like one or two. And I usually just stick with the 5 milliliter wild orange that you do get in the class in the box at a very, very reasonable price, which we'll talk about too. I will often give the host a gift. So when I'm arriving, usually as they're introducing me or, I'm coming up to the front, I'll thank them for hosting the class and have a little something for them, whether it's, the wild orange or a lip chap or maybe something that I know that they've been wanting to try as a thank you. Some of the tear pads. So I'm going to show you a link later in this presentation, how to get to some of the class teaching sheets that Ange has put together in the little whole fit toolkit Google document. I have a product guide with me so people can kind of flip through. Definitely a price list, because not everyone, I have found in the past, people don't necessarily want to do a kit, but they want to do a couple single oils along with a membership. People like to kind of know costs in advance, I find. Oh, someone's adding a chat. Oh, it's okay, Lauren. No worries. And clipboards and pen. I guess being a teacher, I love to have something that people can write on. If you're sitting on the couch or you're sitting in a chair, it's nice to have something that they can jot notes down. I often will have like the top 10 oils printed out with some notes, and then if they want to add to it, because it's a really great takeaway. They have something so they don't have to get home and go, oh, what did Kate say about lemon? Or I forget what she said about peppermint, right? They kind of have a little Coles notes to go home with them. And then I learned I don't have to have a huge smorgasbord of food. And my classes are typically around 7 in the evening after people have had dinner. So I do like to bake. Sometimes I'll make some peppermint brownies or some lemon cookies, just something light and simple, but desserts always seem to go over well, and then kind of a nice way to showcase your oils. The nice thing, I do have a little picture here of the 31 bag that I often will take with me, something nice and big that I can fit everything in, just pick up and go, which is nice to have. So that's kind of all the things that I like to have. If there's something you find that you can't teach a class without, maybe you can let us know after. Maybe if there's something that I didn't have on my list. Perfect. So the next one is practice. It sounds silly, but just like anything, you're playing a sport or you're in a band, you practice, because that's what gets you, makes you ultimately better at what you're doing, right? It's totally normal to be nervous. I was definitely nervous my first one. As I said, Ange Peters was supposed to be attending my launch, and that was really nerve-wracking for me. So yeah, I would stand and I would rehearse in front of a mirror, a friend or a family member who is willing to listen to me. Sometimes I would literally just go and stand in my basement where I would typically have my class set up, and I would stand at the front and talk to no one. And I would just go over what I was going to say. And yeah, I felt really silly, and I'd close the door and my boyfriend be upstairs, and because I'd be a little embarrassed. But by the time that I had to actually teach my class with real life people in front of me, it was easy peasy, right? Because you just start to get into that routine of what you're going to say and a flow. We're going to talk about the flow. And then it just becomes second nature. You find that you just get into this habit of, you've kind of got what you already want to say, and it just becomes, flawless. And yeah, like I think there was a month or so where maybe I didn't teach a class for 3 weeks, and I was feeling a little rusty, and I got to my class, and once I got talking, I had practiced so much that it was almost ingrained, and it kind of would just flow right out, and I didn't really have to think about going over anything beforehand because I had been practicing. The other nice thing is being respectful of people's time. Jess mentioned this at the beginning, keeping it within the hour or so, right? People do have busy lives. You know, we are busy too. And some of my classes have been really long because, you know, you have to remember kind of keeping it nice and within usually an hour and a half is, I would say, a good time. I mean, people might have questions afterwards, and I'm usually more than willing to stick around, but just letting people know it in ahead of time so that they can kind of plan accordingly. So this is a big one. I definitely had this thought before presenting myself. So what if they ask me a question and I'm not sure of the answer? I'm sure some of you are thinking, yeah, I've had that happen. So the first thing is don't panic. You definitely do not have to be an expert know-it-all. And there are some things that you can say that can kind of help out with that. One of the things that I really like is just letting them know, you know, that is a really great question. I think it might be this oil that can help with that. But, you know, why don't we look it up together and make sure? Or, you know, why don't I find that out for you and I'll get back to you as soon as I know. And then I have some time to go and find some research. I can maybe look it up in the Essential Life book or go to one of our Facebook pages where maybe someone's posted about a recipe that they've tried or a personal experience, right? Everyone reacts to the different oils differently, and everyone's kind of tried different things that maybe work for them. So it might be a combination of one or two things that, you know, they might try, but at least you're kind of directing them in a more productive way, I guess you could say. And, you know, you're not just making a guess or just saying something to kind of please them in the moment. I always try to make sure I follow up with that person. And don't pretend you do know, right? It's one of those things that there are tons of resources out there, and you don't have to look like you know everything, because we're always all learning, and then you'll know for your next class. And as I was saying, yeah, use your resources. Natural Life book. I really like the Modern Essentials app, and I really like the Facebook group. There's a few of them just because people post testimonials, you know, things that have worked for them, things that maybe haven't worked, or you can get a variety of people's opinions, which is kind of nice to try. All right. So yeah, the next one is reaching out to your upline. Maybe you're in the first month or so of teaching your classes and it's been going well, but you want a little more support, or you want to get some other people, maybe see how some other people teach your classes. That's always a great way to learn too. Talk to your outline. Have your upline, maybe the person that you enrolled through, come teach your first launch class or support you during your first class. When I first enrolled one of my builders, I went and taught her first class for her launch, just to let people know that she was getting started. She introduced herself. She did, you know, shared about some of the oils that she felt comfortable sharing about. And then I had another builder who wanted to teach her own first class, and that was awesome. But I was still there to support her, and if she, you know, if she had any questions or need anything, I was there for her. And yeah, Jess mentioned in the beginning, we got to do a Diamond Club class together, which was a lot of fun. There are some incredible upline leaders who are able to support you during Diamond Club. And the really nice thing is they're able to offer a lot of great incentives. I found that was a bonus that got some people to my classes because they might get an extra oil or two. And as I said, people like, you know, in little giveaways or incentives, especially if it's oils, you know, that don't come in the kits that they'd like to try. So definitely Diamond Club is a great one to reach out to. Host a class with another wellness advocate. So especially if you're going to have a larger class, you know, buddy up. We're all on the same team, and maybe just having someone else there, especially if you do have a bigger class, you know, if you've got like 15 to 20 people, you can kind of divide and conquer, and then that way no one's feeling like they aren't getting a chance to ask questions, or you're able to get to more people in the class. And another really great one is invite friends who are already using and loving their oils. Some of my presentations have been, you know, been incredible, just because there have been a few people who I'm like, oh, they've already enrolled, I won't invite them. But there have been some people who just want to touch up on some of the things about the oils, or, they want to learn a little bit more. And having them at a class can be a really big benefit to you, because they can speak from personal experience. I've had some girls say, yeah, I've been using my lavender every night because it helps me, me and my kids sleep. I've been using peppermint when I'm not feeling well. It really helps with my congestion. And then other people, it's kind of, you're telling them, but it's also nice to hear some testimonials from people in the class who have already been using the oils, which always speaks volume too. I'm just gonna hold on a sec. Am I going too fast?
Nope, it's perfect.
Okay, just
Totally perfect.
Okay, awesome. My voice hasn't gone yet, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so as I said, I typically like to open up my house. I find it's nice that I have all my setup here. I can invite people over, but then you know what? I'm you might have to travel. I've been to St. Catharines, I've been to Toronto, I've been to Brampton, and it's fun. It's a nice chance to meet some new people, get out some, getting out to some of your more markets and hosting for someone else. So if that's the case, I always make sure I give my host ahead of time a short little bio of myself, for a little introduction, or if she's going to make a Facebook group to invite people, she can kind of let everyone know a little bit about me as I'll be hosting. I encourage my host to invite as many people as kind of the area the room will support. And I set some class time expectations. So I let my host know, we're going to be about an hour and a half to let people know that. And we also kind of, you can gauge your, the people that you're presenting a class for, but I often, we kind of talk about it's kind of a class, right? You're educating people. It's not necessarily a party. There are a lot of people out there who are, supporting different things. And sometimes that's often how they kind of, introduce it. But you also have to kind of know your audience. So maybe, if you have some girlfriends coming over and you want to have some wine and some appetizers, you kind of, you'll get that feel, and you can kind of plan accordingly, and kind of connect with your host on that one. Connect with the host a few days before the class to get an update on how many people you think will be there, just in terms of getting kind of copies of your handouts and tear pads and draw slips and prizes and everything ready ahead of time. And maybe even just asking your host to remind them, a simple text or email the day of, just to remind them. I've had people text me, I'm so sorry, I'm on my way, I completely forgot, but it had a, send them an email or a text in the morning. They, because we do get busy, it's okay. Just a little reminder is helpful. I said I would tell you guys about the class in a box. I definitely ordered one of these before my first class, because it is so awesome. It is very reasonably priced, and there is a ton of stuff that comes in this kit. I'm not sure, is it like $30, $35?
Yep.
I think it's currently unavailable in English. I looked today. It's but it's available in French, but should be available soon if you don't already have yours. It has, like, this list is everything that's in the box. It has 20 class invitations, like little card stock ones that you can hand out to people to get them coming. It's a little more formal. I find people like getting a little, every time I hand them out, people get really excited. 10 of the doTERRA Canadian Living magazine. The 10, you get 10 bottles of 5 milliliter wild orange, which are great little giveaways, great prizes. That alone, like 10 little bottles of oil, I think it's worth buying the kit just for that right there. You get a product guide. You get all the brochures that you get when you get an enrollment kit, like the Living doTERRA, Sharing, and Building with doTERRA, that people can flip through at a class. Maybe you do have someone who's interested in the business. You get 10 class in a box brochures about the oils. It talks about the top 10 oils, what an essential oil is, all that good stuff. And it comes with some little cards that you can put on top of the wild oranges to give out at a class for your prize. And when I first ordered mine, they had CDs that came, and they had videos that you could play to class about the doTERRA difference and how they're sourced, which I did use at the beginning when I was first playing around with, how I wanted my class to look. And since then I haven't, but I don't know if the boxes come with the CDs anymore. Jess and I were talking about. I don't think they do they?
I don't think so, unless it was just a fluke, but I've got a builder up north, and she said when she got hers, it wasn't there. So I haven't got another one since, so I'm not sure personally, but if anybody else knows, you totally unmute yourself if you guys have got one recently, and if you know if it does. And no one. Okay, so
well, I thought it really even just for myself to watch was really helpful.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, so that's kind of the class in the box. I do think they are really awesome. So the class teaching toolkit, this is what I referenced constantly before I was doing my class to kind of get all my information and tier pads and everything ready. I'm going to show you how to get to the link through Facebook, but I've also connected it through a hyperlink on this slide. So if you just click on this image, it will pull it up. But I'm going to show you how to get to it a different way, just so that, if you're on Facebook, you can find it that way too. So let me see if I can quickly screen share another screen. Dun, 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 new share. Okay. Oops. Okay, I'm going to have to exit out of my slide for a second. And pull up new share. Okay, can you guys see this screen? Hold on. Now?
Nope. Yep. There's your Facebook.
So if you're logged into Facebook, I have the tabs all down the side of your little shortcuts to your groups. You're going to scroll over on the left-hand side. There's the Whole Fit Wellness Leaders. You can click on that one. It'll take you to the page. You're going to scroll down, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a little tab that says Expand Me and See More. So you're going to click on that, and you're going to scroll down. This is so awesome that Ange has provided this for us. It has links to all of the things that you will need, not only to invite people to a class, but hosting a class, presenting a class, enrolling. It's got everything here that you will need. But the thing we're going to look at right now is the toolkits. So it should say it's in the third group of links down. So you're just going to click on that. And I saved this right to my desktop, so I kind of had it handy. And if you scroll down, it'll have everything. If you want to talk, you're not sure about oil safety, or maybe you want to gear your class towards specific audience like pregnancy and babies. She's got information on all of those. Under the biz tools, I really like, I think I've got them down 32 and 34. Down one, it has all your class teaching sheets. So the things you're going to print out for a class. I like to have kind of the Coles note of the top 10 oils that people can record. And everything you need to know is kind of right in this nice little Google document right here. So I'll minimize that. I think I'm gonna have to go back to this one. Can you guys see my presentation again now?
Nope, not yet. It looks like it's in transition.
Okay. How about, I'm so good with technology.
Yep.
Okay.
Good to go. Yeah.
Okay. Woo. Okay. There we go. So presentation flow. I found when I was first started, I would kind of jump all over the place. I knew I wanted to talk about this, 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 and this, but I didn't really have it in a nice order. And I found I was kind of backtracking, I forgot to say this. And I would just kind of throw it in until I got my presentation flow, and I was practicing and kind of knew what was a good topic to flow naturally to the next. And it does take a little practice, but you just kind of learn, one thing to the next, what kind of makes it nice and easy to get everything you want to say in. So I always make sure I thank my hosts and any guests for attending and taking their time out, right? They're coming out to educate themselves and become empowered and educated on how to use the oils. And so that's our whole goal. Like, getting them to a class is pretty awesome that they're taking the time to do that. I make sure I introduce myself. I kind of give them a little, I'm a teacher, all those kind of things about yourself, kind of make that personal connection. And then I ask, does anybody know what an essential oil is or have if they've used them before. Essential oils are becoming a lot more popular, and some people know a little bit about them. Some people know a lot about them. Maybe some people have been using them before, maybe through Sage, or, you know, you can get oils at HomeSense, Winners, you know, maybe they've been kind of trying some on their own, but don't know a whole lot about them. That was kind of like me at the beginning. And then I have them write down their 3 goals. So typically the things that they have as concerns in the back of their mind. So for me, it was about my digestion. It was about cleaning products and sleep. So those were maybe the 3 concerns that I would write down. Oh, and immune boosting, because I work with little children and I was always getting sick. So On Guard became one that I fell in love with. So getting them to write down some of the things that they're interested in or want to learn about the oils for, because then you can touch on those and you can direct them to some of the products that might be beneficial for them. I then share my why. So I talk about, I won't tell you guys now because it'll take too long, but yeah, share them how you got started with them, and you know, make that connection as, wow, it was kind of that aha moment that led you to think like, yeah, these oils are legit, like plant power is pretty awesome, and explain how, you know, it can become something that they will start to love and use as well. Then I talk about the 3 ways to use the oil. So typically I'll have my diffuser going. So when they come in, they're already getting welcome with that nice aromatic smell of the diffuser, talking about how, you know, you don't necessarily need a diffuser, cupping the hands, putting it over your nose, how it's just very mood boosting, even just smelling them straight from the bottle. I talk about using them topically on our skin, and then it kind of links into oil safety as well, and dilution and ratios for, you know, little ones to adults. And then internally, so I'll talk about maybe you had a peppermint brownie on your way in, or maybe you had a drop of lemon to your water before we sat down. So how you can ingest. A lot of the oils are very safe to ingest, and that's when I typically have those little veggie caps handy too, to say that's an alternative too, because the taste of oregano isn't always, you know, great. So there are ways to kind of take some of the oils internally that way too. I always make sure I'm talking about oil safety. That is a big one. So having, you know, talking about your carrier oils, what to do if you get in an eye, or, you know, you start to notice some skin sensitivity, and then the ratios. You know, a lot of moms are wanting to use them with their little ones. So just talking about how to dilute and not necessarily using the oils neat. I talk about the doTERRA difference. There is a difference, 100%, and I've seen that firsthand. I used to buy, you know, the $5.99 specials from Winners and HomeSense, and they weren't, like, when I went back and looked at my bottles and I looked at the labels, a lot of them were, you know, cut with synthetics or fillers or, you know, soy. It was one of my even had water in it. I'm like, what percentage of essential oils are actually in there, right? So I talk about how they are certified pure therapeutic grade. When you get that bottle of, you know, lavender or wild orange, all that's in there is lavender. There's nothing else. And I talk about the source to you, you know, putting in that lot number and being able to find that scientific research and the data that's been done and tested on that batch alone. Like that, doTERRA is very transparent in the fact that they provide customers with that information. There is no other essential oil company out there that does that. And to me, that spoke volumes, right? They're showing you what's in their product, and it is 100% natural. And I felt, you know, really good about that, and using something that I felt wasn't filled with a lot of toxins and chemicals, as many of our products today are, especially being women, and we use so many of them on a daily basis. I talk about the community, not only of WholeFit, but of doTERRA as a whole. I talk about the co-impact sourcing and the healing hands. Being a teacher, that was something that kind of spoke to me, how they're, you know, they're providing education and building schools and giving back to those communities. That's huge. Like that for me was kind of like, wow, like that's good on them. So that was kind of all tied into my doTERRA difference. And if someone, you know, had some questions specifically on something else, how things were sourced to that, I could direct them to that information too. And then I dive into the top 10 oils, which is what people are, you know, here there to learn mostly about. And I make sure when I talk about the top 10, I'm giving those personal accounts. So I find when I went to one of my first classes, I really remember the things that people said based about the oils based on their little stories. I remember Megan Terza's telling us about, a monster spray she made for the kids at night with the lavender, and that stuck with me. So when you can make those connections with people and see how they're actually using them on a daily basis and adding them into their routine, you can kind of, it's not just a bottle that's going to sit on the shelf, or I forget what to use with that, right? You give them some little examples, and you might give them 3 or 4. They might remember one, but then you're giving them some information after the class that they can always learn more if that's the case. And then I talk about, after I've talked about the top 10 and I always pass them around. So if I'm talking about an oil, this is a hot tip. Start with what oil? Does anyone know? What oil do you start with?
I start with peppermint.
Yes, that's
Okay.
it.
I was like, did I get it right?
Yeah, you did. I always start with peppermint. Why? It's because I find as soon as that peppermint bottle gets opened and passed around, people come alive. Like, they smell the peppermint and they're like, whoa, it like instantly wakes everyone up, and they love it. And people get like chatty, and they're all excited, and they're like, I can't believe it. Like, whoa, it just seems to be such a dramatic introduction to the oils that I'm like, all right. And especially if you're doing your classes in the evening, say around 7, people are starting to get a little tired. They've maybe been at work all day. Starting with that peppermint just gives them that kickstart, kind of wakes them up, and they're ready to listen to what you have to say. So definitely I start with my peppermint, pass them around, let them try them out if they'd like. And then at the end, I talk about how they can get their oils. I know at the first, this is one I didn't always like talking about. I'd be like, and if you want to purchase some oils, we can talk about that. And, I can show you how you do that. And I wasn't very confident with my closing and letting people know how they could get their oils, which was, really a disservice, because when I first started, I wanted to know, how do I get these oils? Oh yeah, like I'm totally interested in the kit. But, you have to provide that information for them. So I definitely make sure I talk about the kits, especially the home essentials. I talk about, the 5 milliliters versus the 15 milliliters. So they're getting 85 drops versus the 250 drops in the 15 milliliters. And then the price difference, you're getting 3 times more the oils with the 15 milliliter bottle at such a good price. doTERRA really kind of bundles those kits nicely to kind of be a little bit more cost effective, which everyone really likes. I also kind of make the connection of, it's kind of like Costco, right? You start with your membership, and then you can add things as you please, and you get your kind of points back as well. I do talk about the loyalty rewards program, maybe not so much in depth, but I do explain it if a lot of people are showing interest in getting started with the oils or starting with kits, or maybe you have those few people in your class who just want to start with the membership and 1 or 2 oils. You can talk about loyalty rewards and how, if it's not in their budget now, if they're doing the loyalty rewards and they're placing, 1 or 2 oils every month, they're going to start to see those points add up. And then they're going to be able to redeem them for free stuff, for free oils. Maybe that were on their wish list, but they, were willing to wait to kind of to use those points on. So it is a really incredible program. Not a lot of companies give kind of, you don't go to Shoppers Drug Mart, buy a tube of toothpaste, and they say, oh, Kate, thanks for shopping with us. Like, here's 50 cents towards your next order, right? Whereas I always look forward to using my points and getting my free orders in the mail. And then I open it up for questions. I let people know, and I kind of mingle while I do this. Sometimes I've learned that people will come up to you maybe separately. They don't always like to ask their questions in front of a larger group, and that's okay too. So kind of getting up, moving around, and letting people ask you questions if they have any, directing them to some of the resources, maybe a product guide. If they want to see what else is available, maybe for lotions or deodorants, you can kind of direct them that way. Or, I always include a price list with each of their little handouts, so they have one of those they can look at. So they're not asking, oh yeah, like I want a bottle of lavender. How much is that? Like top 10, I pretty much got the prices down now, but sometimes offhand, I don't maybe know the cost of an oil. So giving them a price list is nice to have. And then talking about the membership fee of $42 and then adding single oils, or with the kits, how that $42 fee is kind of encompassed and waived. I find people like to know, that's kind of, it seems like a better deal sometimes when you talk about the kits that way. I also let them know that there is, like, the education doesn't end at the end of my class. There's always ongoing support. The community is incredible. If they have questions, if they, get home and all of a sudden a week later they get their oils and they're like, I completely forget everything that Kate said. I have no idea what I'm doing with these oils. You don't want them to just let them sit. You want them to uncap their oils. You want them to be using them. So link them into those Facebook groups. Link them into, a lot of the Whole Fit links that Ange has created, because they are incredible and they provide amazing resources. Like, it's like a gold mine. I reference it all the time to find out, how to make laundry soap, how to make, recipes. It's, the limits are never ending with how they can use their oils, and you want to let them know that. And then, this is another good little tip I learned. Have a calendar with you at the end of your class to book for future classes. I also learned, people love free stuff, if you have a little incentive, maybe a little lip chap or, a bottle of lemon, if someone is willing to write down on the calendar a date they'd be willing to host for you, maybe they're like, yeah, I have, my mom would really love this, or, my sister would be totally into this, or I have a group of friends who've been wanting to learn about the oils too. Awesome. Why don't I host a class for you guys? And if you're willing to do that, take a bottle of lemon, or, here's a lip chap. And it just kind of already, you don't have to think about where your next classes are going to happen next month. You already have some lined up, which is nice. Wrapping up a class. This was one thing I said was not always my strong suit. I always make sure I thank everyone for coming. I do my draw my class prize for the free oil. And the people, when they fill out the draw slip, there's some little questions like whether they're interested in buying more oils through wholesale, whether they're interested in, hosting their own class or getting involved with the business. And that's really good information to have, because you can always follow up with those people after, and it kind of gives you an idea of where they're at. I get up and mingle, so I find, as I was saying earlier, people don't always like asking questions maybe in front of a group, or people want some time to think about their decision. So I might get up, get a drink, kind of walk around and let people process. I help them, direct them to any brochures or handouts that might be helpful for them about some information. Maybe if they're wondering about the supplements, I'll have a little tear sheet that they can take home with them. If anyone shows interest in the business, I might plan a meet. I mean, specifically meet with them that night, but plan, a coffee date, or say, what, that sounds awesome. It's a great opportunity. Why don't I send you an email with some of the links and some information? And I'll follow up with you and we can chat more. Maybe, get a coffee and you can talk about the business, maybe a little more one-on-one, or with some other, there's some great business classes that we often do as a team, having them come out to one of those. I have some girls who are going to come out to the Wellness Summit here in London, just simply to learn more. There's lots of great opportunities for people if they are starting to show interest in building, because you never know that you might have a builder in your very first class. You just never know. And then, I also have some little incentives for anyone that does enroll that night. So I might say, anyone who does enroll with a kit tonight, I'm going to provide you with an A to Z guide of how to use your essential oils, maybe some empty roller bottles so that when they finally get theirs, they can use them and, get to using them right away. I also, there's lots of different things. That's just some examples. It's totally up to you. You don't have to do that, but I just find it's a nice little something for someone to take home. I often have on Vistaprint, I made some just little posters of little postcards of some diffuser blends, and then some little jot notes about the top 10 oils, just to give to them as well, so that they have a little something to reference. And then they have a little something to take with them. And that, we're coming to the end. How long have I been? I'm keeping it on time, guys. I'm trying. So
You're doing well.
Awesome. Okay. So this is my homework to you. I would love for you to write down your biggest fear that is holding you back from booking a class or maybe presenting. Maybe you haven't taught a class yet. So what is something that is, your biggest fear? Maybe it's about a specific topic. Maybe it's something you don't feel comfortable talking about just yet. So your biggest fear holding you back. And then this is the fun one. Take a picture of your class setup and share it on the Launch Your Biz group. So next time you're having a class, just take a little picture of your, maybe how you have everything laid out before people come, how you kind of display your oils. It's always kind of nice to see how everyone does that. So that is all. And yeah, thank you so much. Everyone has been doing such a great job presenting, and it's so nice to pop on and connect with you guys each week. So thanks, Jess, and thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
Awesome, Kate. That was so good. Thank you so much. Is that flipping back to me there? Is that okay? I want to make sure. Right, okay. So yeah, no, awesome, Kate. See, guys, isn't she amazing? I knew she'd be perfect with that.
You're too kind.
Again, I'm going to post everything afterwards too. So there were some really, really good points and good screens there that if you guys didn't get a chance to jot it all down, then we can by all means take some screenshots, or just afterwards just be able to like scroll through some of those again, because there were some really excellent points there. The list, your checklist, that's a big thing too. And everything becomes habit, you know, after time. But you know what? It's always great to have a reference. Perfect example, I did a class on Sunday, and so 2.5 years in, and I forgot, of all things, my enrollment sheets. So yeah, I was like, nice, Jess, nice, good job. But you know what? You do what you can with what you can. And I just wrote everything down that they needed to put on the back of the folders. I had a couple extras, and perfect. So, you know, it's luckily this business and what we do, there's kind of always ways to work around stuff, which is good. And like Kate stressed, we don't have to be pros. I personally, I think I would rather somebody tell me that they didn't know the answer and they will find it out for me and let me know, rather than tell me something that's not true and I go and I end up, you know, using something maybe I shouldn't for a certain thing, or using too much, or, you know, that type of thing. So, you know what, always play the down low on that one. It's okay. People that come to these classes are like all of us. They're very understanding. They're very open. They're very welcoming and friendly. They're going to be okay with you not knowing everything. So it's a huge stress, I know, to start feeling that you do have to, and it's definitely not the case. And again, having your upline come and doing your launch class, and maybe it's the first couple if you're still really unsure. That's really good too. I jotted down a couple things that Kate made me think of as she was going through. I'll keep it quick then, and then we'll jump off because we've got Megan's call afterwards. So one thing that, just on that note, if you guys are feeling really stressed with having to remember a lot of stuff, what I've done, and I still do, is there's 2 videos I still go to show, and they're only a couple minutes long. One being the definition of what an essential oil is, which after time, you know, we can recite that in our sleep. But what I find actually is to give myself, because most of us will get nervous doing this, and sometimes we need to kind of regroup for a second and make sure that we've said kind of everything we've needed to, or just need a drink break or something to have that little breath of fresh air. So I find at the beginning I'll go to show that video, and then later on talking about why doTERRA is different, and with the testing in particular, I show a little video on that as well. So both those times it's kind of broken down into, you know, like a third into the class, and then, you know, kind of 2/3. So it just gives me that quick little chance to go, okay, did I talk about this? Did I thank everybody? Did I? Like, you're just going through in your head. So just a tip there, I'll post those afterwards if you guys want to start showing them as well. I really do find it's a nice little break, and everybody, you know, can hear somebody else's voice for a little bit as opposed to your own. And it just kind of saves a little bit of brain power from having to remember everything. So I'll make sure to post those afterwards. Another great thing that, if you guys weren't aware, in the class teaching the toolkit, or sorry, the class in a box that we get with, I know personally, I looked a lot through the Live Guide and the Build Guide, but I kind of passed on the Share Guide a lot because I felt I was covering it, and the sharing used to be a lot bigger of something that we dealt with doTERRA, but they've kind of weaned it out a little bit. But they have in those share guides a whole page of perforated sample cards. And so that's something that, if you guys weren't aware, instead of having to make some, or some people order online, it at least gives you some. You can photocopy those. They've got the little holes to be able to put on the drams. And I thought that was really cool. So out of those, I made sure I tore them all out. I kept one copy of each of those guides to reference. And then I just took out from the other class in the boxes the perforated sheets for that, just to have some extras. So again, those classes in a box are great. Like people have said a couple times, right now they're working on the new English ones. I do believe though that we can get from the US, which you're still, getting all the information that you need. Not necessarily, I guess, with all the prices being the same and whatnot, but if you're really in dire need and want those wild oranges to be able to do some classes, then I think the US one is still available, temporarily, at least until Canada updates and that. So don't feel lost with it. You can still get them, I believe. I'll double check on that one, but I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that was basically all I wanted to add afterwards. Great again, Kate, thank you so much. Like I said, guys, I'll post afterwards so you guys can take some screenshots and make some more notes and get going on that homework. And it's awesome to be able to see everybody's setup. I think it helps. Kristen did a video a bit ago there with her event setup, which, was awesome. Woo-hoo. And it was, it's those little things. It might just be like one simple thing that you don't think of. Or, I remember seeing one time somebody had set the LLV, like you raise it up on something so it kind of stands out. Like all those little things that, somebody who's maybe more artistic or more, whatever, can do a lot simpler. But this is why we're a team. This is why we help each other, because we're all rooting for each other. It's not a competition. So let's get those pictures too, even if you have to do like a makeshift little class just to set up your display, but it'll get you used to doing it, and it'll help some other people out too, which is great. So does anybody have any questions? If you do, unmute yourself. No. Okay. So if anybody in the meantime does, just post afterwards and we'll go from there, and I'll end this call and hopefully get to see most of you on the next one. It's going to be a good one with all the roadblocks. I think, sometimes presenting can be, and I kind of like that these calls were back to back with it. Because there's certain roadblocks, and especially with Kate's homework too. What is your biggest fear about presenting a class? And right there can be a huge roadblock to people. So I think it ties in really well with Megan's call next. And again, she'll record things too. So if you guys can't stay on with kids and putting kids to bed and all that, totally understandable. But check it out afterwards then. And in the meantime, we'll chit chat throughout the week on some posts on that. And other than that, we'll be here next Tuesday at 7. And we're going to be doing enrolling with Megan Martin. And Megan right now, for those that don't know, is traveling around the world, US mainly, but with her boyfriend Ricky, and they're just living up life, which is awesome. And so she's going to make sure she's there. It's sometimes hard for her to have Wi-Fi and that, but she's going to make sure she's there. And she's a silver leader on our team, and she's great when it comes to people. So she'll give some good tips with the enrolling too. So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you maybe in a couple minutes. And if not, then definitely next Tuesday, okay? Alrighty, guys. See you later.